In this episode, let's take a look at some of the coolest villain vehicles from 80s cartoons that happen to be based on animals. So, stick around. Hello folks, and welcome to Days of Dorker Past. My name is Rob, and in this episode we're going to take a look at some of the coolest villain vehicles from 80s cartoons that are based on animals. I know that's a very specific thing, but there are some really awesome ones. So without further ado, let's take a look at number 1. And let me just say, I'm getting my cheat one out of the way first. The first one comes from Bravestarr, and that is Tex Hex's Skullwalker. Technically, it came from an animal at one time. I mean, it's a giant bull skull with horns and everything, and that is awesome. What was great about this is it ran around on 2 legs and could turn into a flying hover bike, where the legs would snap up into the front and the giant skull there, and he's riding on it. I mean, it just cut a great image. For bonus points, it was an awesome toy to boot. There are very few science fiction fantasy vehicles that just scream undead gunslinger like a giant walking bull skull that could also turn into a hover bike. This puts it at number 1 on the list, and I mean, it's just awesome. And like I said, the toy was equally as awesome. Number 2 comes from Masters of the Universe, and that is Skeletor's Landshark. It was a very impressive and awesome toy, but as far as the cartoon goes, it only made 2 appearances. And in its first appearance, it was very much reminiscent of the actual toy. But in its second episode, titled Cold Zone, the Landshark actually had an AI, if you will, kind of like the attack track, just more primitive. It also had an enclosed dome over it, and it wasn't the one-man battle cruiser that it was in toy form. When you're a villain, you need to make a great first impression. Like Tex Hex with his Skullwalker, Skeletor meant business when he showed up with a giant metal shark's maw, chomping everything in its way. Number 3 on the list comes from Silverhawks, and that is the tentacled space beast Skyrunner. Monstar's Space Squid kept up with the whole themes of Silverhawks, of partly metal, partly real. This seemed like, and it's kind of gross in a way, that someone just slapped armor onto, like I said, a space squid, but also had a cockpit in its back. Yeah, that's kind of weird. It is very unnerving, and it has that feel of primordial fear with it being a squid on top of it. It's a very scary vehicle, but at the same time, I kind of feel bad for it. I mean, did it want to be a vehicle? Wow. Anyway, number 4 on the list is a little bit more conventional, and that is Dr. Claus Car from Inspector Gadget. This transforming vehicle was awesome, and it had a great cat motif. Like Inspector Gadget's car, this thing could turn into a plane, a submarine, and just a normal old car, which would transport Dr. Claw around. Like I said, it has a cat motif, and that is super awesome. It has great colors of black and red, and just, again, a great first impression for an okay villain. Number 5 on the list is Serpentor's Snake Chariot. You couldn't find a better ride for Cobra's supreme leader that harkened back to his Roman heritage. Again, an awesome toy, and it was awesome in the cartoon. I mean, it didn't do a lot, but what it did do was great. Like I said, a great first impression. It had that snake head that just meant business, and it kept up with the motif of Cobra perfectly. It was made of gold that made sure to tell you you were dealing with royalty. The final entry on the list is the Frog's Head Flyer from Danger Mouse. It was piloted by Greenback, the frog villain. Well, I mean, of course he's a villain. This is a list of villains' vehicles. Duh. Anyway, this is another vehicle that walked around on 2 legs, but this time it was a metal frog's head, hence the name, with these big red cockpit eyes. Like Danger Mouse's vehicle, the Frog's Head Flyer was decked out with a ton of different gadgets that could help Greenback defeat the hero. With its large size and stomping attacks, the Frog's Head Flyer was a pretty impressive vehicle. Anyway, this was just a very quick list of 6 of the coolest villain vehicles from 80s cartoons that happen to be based on animals. So anyway, I hope you liked this episode. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. If you got something to say, please leave a comment. I love reading them and I love getting back to everybody. And if you're new around here and you enjoyed this little quick episode or any of the ones that YouTube is recommending down below, please hit subscribe. And if you hit that little bell icon, you will be notified whenever there's a new episode. So anyway, until next time, keep being rad and stay dorky.